Welcome, brothers and sisters, family and friends, to the funeral service of our father, Maurice Vincent Gourley. We want to welcome all of you who have travelled a long way here today. We're just going to start off by welcoming Dad into the chapel with one of his favourite songs.
Don't get many things right the first time. In fact, I am told that a lot. Now I know all the wrong turns and stumbles and falls that brought me here.
Brothers and sisters, welcome. As I look out on this, on the number of people who are here today, I see lots of people who were influential in Dad's life and have also been influential in my life. On behalf of my family, I just want to say thank you. My name is Bishop Sam Gourley. I'm also Maurice's son, if you haven't gathered that already, and also his bishop. And presiding here at our meeting today is our state president, President Gabriel Miller. As I look at the amount of people out here, I wonder, well, I don't wonder actually, I can see why Dad felt like he was the luckiest. And in that song we just heard, that was a song that Dad shared with us in the time before he passed, and he said to us that he felt like he was the luckiest. So that's why we decided to share that moment today. Brothers and sisters, just a little bit of housekeeping. It's okay for you to cry in here, it's okay for you to laugh as well. I'll be trying to crack a few jokes, so if you don't mind laughing, if you don't find them funny, that would be helpful for me. It'll help me get through this as well. If anyone needs to use the bathroom, it's just down the corridor and then to the left, and it's not too hard to find, so feel free to pop out. Where there's lots of young children here too, you're welcome to come in and out as you please, so please don't hesitate. Like I mentioned, I'd like to just offer a special welcome to those of you who have travelled a long distance to be here today. I know there's a lot of people who've flown up from Tasmania, especially our brother David, who's flown up especially for the service. We're really welcome about that here, Dave, and my sister Sandra and her family. Thanks for coming, guys, and all of you who have come a long distance. Thank you so much for being here, and Dad will be really honoured that you came to celebrate his life. We will open our meeting with an opening hymn. So it's going to be hymn number 166, Abide With Me. So those of you who are new to an LDS chapel, there's a little green book, and if you go to number 166, there'll be a hymn that will be singing. And our opening prayer today will be by Brother Eric Fairbanks. Some of our speakers who are scheduled here today. So if all of you have a program, you'll be able to see who's coming up to speak. The way the service will run will be as follows. So we'll firstly hear from Elaine Waters, Dad's younger sister. We'll then hear from Brother John Lowndes. John is one of Dad's closest friends, been friends for all of their adult life. And then we'll hear a brief talk by his granddaughter, Olive, who will come and address us. Following Olive's words, I'll present a eulogy on behalf of the family.
Good morning. What a beautiful day to honour the life of my brother Maurice. He'd be so humbled to see you all here today. My name is Elaine Waters, and I'm Maurice's younger sister. I'm speaking today on behalf of our family, our mother Doris and my older brother Michael, who both live in Hobart. Due to poor health, neither are able to be here today, but I'm sure are here in spirit. Our dad Samuel passed away in 2009. I'd like to share with you a little about Maurice's early years. Maurice Vincent Gourley was born on the 17th of August 1952 in Exeter, Devon, England. He was the middle child born to Samuel and Doris. Our father was Irish and Mum was English. Dad was one of 8 children and had a big family in Antrim, Northern Ireland, so he travelled to Ireland every Christmas for a long stay with his family. Our Irish heritage has always been a big part of our lives. It's probably responsible for Maurice's love of big families, music, jokes, and the famous Gourley stubbornness. We were a typical working class family. Money was in short supply, but we always had what we needed and we were very happy kids. Unfortunately, at the age of about 7, Maurice was diagnosed with a diseased hip bone. He had to have surgery and spent many months alone in hospital in traction. During this time, he was ill with several bouts of pneumonia. He was finally able to come home, but he had to use crutches for a very long time. He walked with a limp afterwards, and the hip pain came and went his whole life until about 4 years ago, when he was finally given a hip replacement, enabling him to become pain-free. He became addicted to physical fitness and bike riding, making up for all the lost time and helping him to manage his illness. When Maurice was 12, my parents made the brave decision to emigrate to Australia in search of a better life for the family. Dad had a sister Betty living in Hobart who sponsored us out. I think we were 10 pounds. So in November 1964, we left behind Mum's family and the only life we'd ever known and arrived in Hobart. We set about making a new life for ourselves. Dad was a carpenter and often worked away from home. We settled in Bracken Lane Fern Tree in the foothills of Mount Wellington in Hobart. We 3 kids loved it there, playing in the bush and walking all over the mountains with our friends. Unfortunately, it was also prone to snow in winter and bushfires in summer. And in February 1967, tragedy struck when a massive bushfire struck Hobart and surroundings. Many lives were lost. Our home and everything in it was burnt to the ground. Everything we brought with us from England was gone. We only had what we were wearing that day. It was the first day back at high school, so Michael, Maurice and I were in our school uniform. Dad was fighting the fire, so ended up only with shorts and work boots. Mum escaped the mountain in the back of a ute at the last moment with whatever she had on. I think this one event shaped all of us in many ways. We realised you can lose your home, all your possessions in the blink of an eye. What it also taught us was compassion for others who lost homes but also loved ones, appreciation for the kindness of the many strangers who helped us, and understanding that you need to make every day count. And I think Maurice certainly lived his life that way. Dad decided to rebuild our house over the weekend, during weekends. We 3 kids were press ganged in as labourers every weekend. It took over a year, but we did it. This taught us the value of hard work and working as a team for the good of the family. At this stage, Maurice was a typical teenager. He had jet black hair, grew a long moustache, and dressed like the Beatles. Some say he looked like a young Barry Gibb. He loved to draw, loved music, and judo. He was very good at judo. He and Michael were members of the CMF, which is Civilian Military Forces, and this took up a lot of their time. I believe the CMF taught Maurice many life skills, but in particular to be a good organiser and to keep everything neat and tidy. I'm sure his children can attest to the fact that he was a stickler for being neat and tidy, and this stayed with him all his life. We were always close, but as siblings, of course, we would argue, but it didn't last long. and it was mostly settled by who could withstand an arm wrestle or Chinese burn the longest. Maurice finished high school, started work as an apprentice mechanic, hence his ability to fix his own cars. He changed jobs to work for Kodak in Hobart, repairing all their big equipment. During this time, he was always searching for a new car. He loved learning and helping people, so he decided to train as a psychologist, which meant going to university. He had met and married Linda by this stage, so it was a big decision to make. He paid his way by tutoring others and graduated with honours. He set up a successful psychology practice in Hobart and helped many people over many years. By this stage, I left Hobart to work in Melbourne, so other speakers today will continue his story. But on a more personal note, Maurice was a wonderful son and a much-loved brother. Our mother tells me he was a happy, kind, sensitive child, always devoted to her and Dad and always willing to help in any capacity. He demonstrated his love for Mum by travelling down to Hobart in November last year for her 94th birthday, even though by then he was very sick. He wanted to personally convey to her that he was at peace with his diagnosis. He knew he had only a short time left. He said to her that whenever she felt down, she was to sing, always look on the bright side of life, and he'd be singing it with her. Maurice was a unique individual. He had the ability to gather people to him. He was funny, genuine, humble, wise and compassionate, and lived a simple life. He lived by the ethos of loving kindness. He always had a big smile on his face. He felt blessed with his family, adored his grandchildren, and his wide community of friends. They were his life, and he gave everyone importance in his life. They are the legacy he leaves behind. He was non-judgmental and could offer sound wisdom, which he did for me on many occasions. I will miss that. I will miss his cheeky humour and that beaming smile. I will miss our chats. I will miss his lucky sis. I will miss him. At peace now, safe in the arms of our Dad and his Lord. Love you, Maurice.
Once in a lifetime, somebody might come into your life. I can't see you properly, but I'm reduced to see more words here. Somebody might come into your life who has a profound influence on you, who turns your life upside down and sends it off in another direction. Maurice was that man in the life of myself, my wife and my family. We first met when I was 27 and Maurice was about 25, late in 1977. We were living at Kingston Beach, Tasmania, a stone's throw away from each other. Jane's birth, where are you there? Jane's birth was the catalyst that brought the two families into contact with each other. That's another story. If you can picture Barry Gibb with black hair and a black beard, you can see Maurice as he was then. A young man, trim, muscular, in his prime, a man who enjoyed life, his new family, surfing and martial arts. During the short time that we had known him, he made no mention of the fact that he was a member, he and Linda were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He sent the missionaries to our home. It was New Year's Day, 1978. I was working in the garden and two young Americans dressed in suits hailed me. It's interesting that when I was living at home with my parents, that when the missionaries came to our door, they sent me to get rid of them. I invited them in to leave a blessing on our home in the form of a prayer. And before I knew it, I'd asked them back. At the time, I was very anti-American. That's interesting. 2 young American missionaries, I was anti-American. Anyway, a couple of days later, a very straight-faced Maurice came to me and he said, "I've heard that missionaries from our church are going to be teaching you. Would it be all right if Linda and I came and sat in on the lessons?" And that's what they did, with a very young baby as well. So you ought to have heard all the lessons then as well. On the 14th of January, 14 days later, Maurice baptised my wife and myself. Maurice would then call in on his way home from work to see how we were progressing, see how we were travelling in the gospel, and particularly to ask me how I was going with my personal prayers. You see, Maurice had a very special relationship with his Heavenly Father and with the Holy Ghost. When he prayed, he had a notebook and a pen next to him, so that he could record down the revelations that were given to him. And he heard an audible voice. Now, I've only experienced that a few times in my 40 years as a member of the church. The Spirit talks to me through my feelings more than through an audible voice. But the journey he sent us on has led us to the present, where we're presently serving as the managers of the Sydney Temple Patrons Accommodation and serving as ordnance workers in the Sydney Temple 2 evenings a week. Maurice was very in tune, a spiritual person. To illustrate this, I'm going to tell you one story. Something happened in my life which deeply affected myself and my wife. I was really worried about it and I needed guidance. So I fasted for 2 days and then I asked Maurice to give me a blessing of comfort. I hadn't discussed what had happened with him at all. He knew nothing about it. Using the authority of the Melchizedek priesthood which he had, he laid his hands on my head and commenced. As he did so, I formed questions in my mind that I wanted an answer to. And in the blessing, Maurice gave me the answer. I then asked another question in my mind, and Maurice gave me the answer. And so it went on until I stopped asking questions. Maurice had a great sense of humour. Sometimes I would call it irreverent. Maurice had mastered an Indian accent and would often give us words of wisdom from an Indian Swami, and he would have us cracked up, rolling on the floor with fits of laughter. Now, if there's any Indian people here, I assure you that there wasn't a racist bone in his body. He was just a funny man. He didn't take himself too seriously either. He could laugh at his own foibles and crack jokes about himself. Walking along a beach one evening with a mutual friend who would not get his feet wet, Maurice looked at me with that cheeky gleam in his eye, and we picked our friend up, and he got more than his feet wet. And the three of us have had lots of laughs about that over the following years. I learned very quickly that Maurice had the gift of healing. One day a bishop called us into the office, it was on a Sunday, and asked us to go straight to the Royal Hobart Hospital. Somebody who was a recently excommunicated member of the church had they'd rung him up to say that his daughter had been involved in a serious car accident. She'd gone through the windscreen of the car. The face was really badly lacerated. The doctors had stitched the face up, but they knew that she would require plastic surgery and they already booked her in for it in the future. Now I anointed the girl and Maurice pronounced the blessing. And I don't remember what was said in that blessing at all. But I do remember that her face healed perfectly. She had not one scar on her face and she didn't require that plastic surgery. And I feel quite strongly, as does my wife, that that gift of healing is very strong in his family. He was in awe of your talents, his children's talents. And you have followed his caring nature, going out of your way for others. In 1980, my wife and I returned to Melbourne for a couple of years, and during this time, he sent a letter warning me to be careful about what I asked for. You see, he asked for something and he found out that wasn't a good idea. He was in the playground with Jane. She was on a swing or a seesaw, I can't remember which. She fell off head first onto the concrete. Maurice heard the crack, picked her up. The scalp was split open, blood was going everywhere, and she was pretty hysterical. Maurice immediately laid his hands on her head and asked that the pain be transferred to him. He said that the split on the scalp healed immediately. She stopped crying. And so they went home, and he didn't think anything more about it. He went to bed that night, and about 2 o'clock in the morning, he woke up in agony. He had all the symptoms of concussion. Be careful what you ask for. While we're in Melbourne, Sue quite likely had a mental breakdown. There was a lot of things going on in our lives at that time, and we didn't recognise that until quite a few years later. Maurice was talking to Sue on the phone and recognised that something was seriously wrong. He just asked a week before for time off from his job, and his boss said no. Anyway, he went to his boss again and asked if he had have time off. The boss said yes. And so he flew over to Melbourne and spent some time with us and helped us wherever he could. He was a true friend. After he returned home, he sent us an epistle. He had been praying for our welfare and received a revelation for us. He recorded it exactly as he received it. He counselled us to seek the confirmation of the Spirit, because he said he hadn't heard of one man receiving a revelation for another, save it be a bishop or a state president. As we read it together, the Spirit bore down on us powerfully, and we knew it was a revelation for us. Among the many things it told us to return to the place of our baptism of fire. And so we packed up and went back to Tasmania. Maurice and Linda had built a home just off the beach at Conley's Marsh, and our family would go down and join with theirs occasionally. On one occasion, Maury had, I think he must have purchased a windsurfer, which he decided to try out that particular day. So we were both out there trying to sail this windsurfer. We found that we had absolutely no aptitude for it at all. And the children were watching from the beach, you know. We'd get on and perhaps we'd get 2 metres before we'd fall off, you know. And then Maurice would have a turn and then he'd fall off. It was hopeless. So young Sandra gave a running commentary on the beach. turn to fall off now. Now it's Uncle John's turn to fall off. Maurice was now a practicing psychologist, and one day while talking to Sue on the phone, he recognised signs of depression. He came straight to our home and gave Sue a depression test. He said that on a scale of 1 to 10, 8 would be severely depressed. My wife rated 36. He booked Sue in for sessions immediately and started to pinpoint what Sue's triggers were and helped her to think about them differently, to reprogram her mind. For example, one trigger was the death of 2 close friends in a horrific car crash. Maurice trained Sue that when she thought about them, to visualise them coming towards her, dressed in brilliant white robes. He saved Sue from irreversible mental breakdown and saved her family yet again. I saw Maurice when he was in hospital in mid-September last year, within days of being at death's door. He was up and about, walking up and down the stairs in the lift well, and hoping to get home and get back on his bike. And he wanted Linda and I to go out with him for a meal at a healthy hamburger place. And Linda had parked a car right around the other side of the hospital now. Linda wanted to bring the car around, but he insisted that he walk. And so he got most of the way, and I had to push him a bit in his little hand pusher thing that he had. And we got in the car. This, I guess, illustrates how men and women do think differently, and we don't often, well, sometimes we don't communicate really well with each other. Okay, so when Maurice said where he wanted to go, Linda thought, I know where that is. Okay, and so off she took, not realising that there was another one 5 minutes away. And so Maurice then started to give her instructions as how to get there. And it was like, and I'm sitting in the back seat listening to this. It's like, okay, in 10 poles time, right poles time, you've got to turn right, and then in 13, you've got to turn left. And so it went on, and I'm thinking, poor Linda. I was getting confused. I don't know what was happening with Linda. But anyway, we came to one of these turns where we were supposed to have turned, and we didn't get any instructions to turn. Maurice had fallen asleep. And so on we sailed, and of course then Maurice came back again. Where are we? Turn the right. And of course he was on all the way home about the fact that it took us half an hour to get there and 5 minutes to get back again. Maurice really was a wonderful man. He touched the lives of so many people, both through his practice and privately. He was a man of great faith. He was always a seeker of further knowledge, and he loved his family. He loved his family. And that was his greatest joy, and especially over the last years of his life. His family was his joy. I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Maurice Vincent Gourley was the grandfather of 17 beautiful children: Ben, Chad, Jandin, Kylan, Lily, Sam, Jeddah, Hugh, Ben, Zion, Billy, Bailey, Zach, Hazel, Bennett, Patterson, Cooper, Leighton, and me. The amazing thing about my granddad But he was also the adopted grandfather of lots of other kids too. And the amazing thing about my granddad was that he loved us all the same. Granddad was the best granddad ever because he made time for each and every one of us. He knew us individually and showed us love in the way we need it most. The best thing about my granddad was the way he made us laugh. He would tell us funny jokes, give us the best tickles, and make the funniest noises and voices. He loved spending time with us all, from footy games to beach trips, going to the movies, sitting on his lap, listening to music, enjoying the best squishy cuddles, or just sitting with him in his room talking. Granddad always made time for us if we needed him. He was there no matter what, no matter if he was tired or sore or even when he was sick. I have been lucky enough to live with a granddad almost my entire life. And I can definitely say on behalf of all of us grandchildren that there isn't a better granddad in the whole world than ours. We all miss you so much, Granddad, and we know you aren't far away, and that we will always be there for us. We love you, Granddad, and we can't wait to see you soon.
Hopefully what I share today can be some type of comparatively good quality, as those talks were. I spent the last few nights trying to pull this eulogy together, and just want to acknowledge my brother and my sisters for their contributions to what I'm going to share with you today. We've had some really wonderful summaries of some parts of Dad's life, and what I will hope to do in this eulogy is bringing a lot of that together and helping you to see the moments of Dad's life that turned him into the man that he is and that he was at the end of his life. Okay. In 1970, Maurice Vincent Gourley, or as his friends knew him, Maury, attended a dance in Rio, where he spotted a beautiful brunette on the dance floor. Her name was Linda. In speaking of this moment, he described it as love at first sight, and he said, quote, "Once I saw her, that was it. She was the one for me." He mustered up the courage to ask her for a dance, and from that moment on, Dad and Mum quickly became friends. Dad took Mum on a number of dates, and the two quickly fell in love, spending all their available time together for the next 3 years. In 1973, Dad approached Mum's father Bill for permission to marry her, and later that year proposed on bended knee to the person he said was the love of his life. In 1974, Mum and Dad were married in St Mary's Cathedral in the heart of Hobart City. Mum described those years as being perfect, with people often remarking how compatible they were in multiple ways. During this time, Dad went to work for the Eastman Kodak Company, where he quickly became the manager of Australia's first Kodak Magic Moments mini lab in Elizabeth Street in Hobart. He travelled frequently to Melbourne for training to become a Kodak electronics technician. He worked for Kodak for many years, travelling all over Tasmania, repairing Kodak machinery, from photo printers to X-ray machines. Dad had this propensity for fixing electronics, and whenever you broke something, you could take it to Dad, and no matter how messed up it was, he still managed to find a way to get it to work. And he used to say to us, "It's because he used to fix X-ray machines." Wow. Soon after they were married, a senior couple of LDS missionaries knocked on the door. Oh, sorry, I skipped a paragraph here. In 1976, Mum and Dad welcomed their eldest daughter, Jane Renee. She was an 8-pound, beautiful blue-eyed baby, and during this time they rented a small house in Kingston, Tasmania. Despite being a fairly placid baby, Jane had colic for the first 3 months of her life. And Mum recalls that Dad often would come home from long days of work and nurse Jane from 6 p.m. till the late hours of the night until she finally went off to sleep. She's still a pain in the neck sometimes. Mum remembers that he was a very involved father and helped out with all the nursing duties in their home. And Dad was never hesitant in fulfilling his role as a father, at no point. And a few years later, a senior couple of LDS missionaries knocked on their door. These missionaries came and informed Dad that he was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and that he had been baptised when he was just a young boy. Dad was confused by this, and being quite surprised, he went to his parents and said, "What's this about?" And basically they said that it was true, that in his early life he had been taught by some missionaries and he was in fact baptised. Dad always felt a strong connection to God and was at that time looking for the right church to join. He began learning about the church and enjoyed visits from the missionaries, with both Mum and Dad being fully converted to the gospel soon after and Mum being baptised. Dad's faith was incredibly important to him, and during his life he enjoyed serving the church in many capacities, including on the bishopric, on the State High Council in the Hobart, Australia state, but his favourite calling was serving as a state missionary. And he loved to minister so that people could come closer to the Saviour. In 1978, Dad and Mum had another child, a girl they named Sandra. Soon after she was born, they turned their sights on being sealed in the temple. And for those of you who are new to it, who don't know much about our faith, being sealed in the temple is one of the greatest honours for a family, and it's something that we all strive for. At that time, the closest LDS temple was in Hamilton, New Zealand, and with finances at that time being very tight, they were unsure how they would manage to get there. But their faith was strong, and the prospect of an eternal family was so important to them that they sold their family car to finance their trip to the temple. It was then that Dad and Mum were sealed as husband and wife, then allowing Jane and Sandra to be sealed to them for time and all eternity. Upon returning home, Mum recalled that they were blessed to be able to purchase another car quickly, affirming to them that they had made the right decision. In 1980, the couple welcomed a baby boy who they named David. Mum chose the name in tribute to the missionary who was so influential in helping her make the decision to be baptised. Dad and Mum recalled David as being a happy boy who loved his siblings and would get upset when they go off to school. Dad was such a nurturer and was always finding opportunity to teach us kids special life truths. And Sandra remembered a time when the family was at Falmouth, Tasmania, enjoying a family holiday together, and they were horseback riding when Sandra fell off her horse and got her foot caught in the stirrup and was dragged upside down for about 25 metres behind the horse. Luckily she was unhurt. Dad picked her up, dusted her off, and then made a point to coach her through her fear to make sure that she got back on the horse, and then from that point he carefully guided the horse. Dad knew that if Sandra didn't get back on the horse, she would develop a fear of riding. Dad always made a point to teach us about courage, and he used to share this motto with us. He'd say, "Feel the fear, but do it anyway." We hear that all the time. Dad was quite well known for his unique laughing style. Those of you who know him know what I'm talking about. In Jane's teenage years, she remembers a father-daughter night out to the cinema together to see the movie Pretty Woman. Dad was shocked, however, to discover what Julia Roberts' occupation was in that movie, and made an attempt to walk out. Dying of embarrassment, Jane begged him to stay. Reluctantly, Dad gave the movie a chance and eventually got caught up in the funniest moments. The thing, and those of you who know him will understand what I mean here, the thing about Dad's laugh is that it was a cross between a donkey's bray and a strangled cat. And if you were lucky, you got a bit of a snort in there as well, which meant that if Dad was laughing hysterically, everyone was looking and laughing too. Jane wished she'd let him walk out that day. However, she recalls how important these one-on-one times were for her, not just in the movies. After working for Kodak for a number of years, Dad was told by a medical professional that if he continued working for Kodak, it would affect his health due to the exposure to chemicals. And upon hearing this news, Dad quit his job and stayed home for a short time while he worked. If you know Dad, he was a great listener and seemed to have a gift for relating to people and understanding their challenges. During this time, despite his challenges with schooling in his younger life, Dad decided he would enroll at university as a mature age student to become a psychologist. His hope was that one day he might be able to provide counselling for families in the church. And during his time at university, and despite his academic disadvantage, having missed a lot of time at school, Dad received distinctions and high distinctions in every course that he studied, eventually being awarded his bachelor degree in psychology, and went on to achieve his master's as a clinical psychologist, and publishing his thesis, which was titled The Physiological Responses of Potentially Abusive Mothers. He was also awarded a scholarship to study his doctorate at the expense of the University of Tasmania. Dad held himself to an incredibly high standard and was known by some to be a perfectionist. This earned him an opportunity to work for the university in a research capacity and was instrumental in the publication of multiple research articles in his field. In 1986, during his time at university and after a 6-year break, Maurice and Linda welcomed the birth of their second son, Samuel, the handsome one. Life at this time was satisfying and joyful, despite also having some challenges and strains, as many families have. Dad eventually left research and went on to work as a clinical psychologist. He worked in a range of settings, including a rehab centre, the Department of Disabilities, and then for a long time in private practice for a firm in Hobart. Later in his career, he achieved his original goal of working part-time with LDS Family Services. However, Dad always viewed this service as a calling and never billed the church a single dollar for his service. Dad soon gained a reputation in the wider community for his gentle but thorough approach and his calm manner and his professional ability. Dad was known as one of those people who were not afraid to reach out to those in need, as we've already heard today. It wasn't uncommon for us children as adults to be approached by people who would share that Dad had saved their life, or that he had impacted their lives in really profound ways. He had a gift of making people feel heard, seen and accepted. Dad was always available for everyone, especially his clients. And when Dad purchased his first mobile phone, it wasn't uncommon for Dad to stop the car on the side of the road and evict everyone out of the car so he could have a confidential conversation with someone in crisis. One of the fondest memories around this time was the opportunity to have family trips to our grandparents' houses, to either Mount Wellington or Connery's Marsh, depending on which grandparents would live in. The older kids would recall the times of sitting on beanbags in Nan's front garden watching Christmas carols, and watching Dad come back from fishing trips with Uncle Greg and Pop, where they would celebrate their catch by throwing the fish guts and eyeballs at the kids playfully. At Nan and Granddad's house in Mount Wellington, they enjoyed frequent walks on the trails to back and forth to Bracken Falls and through the Tasmanian wilderness, the best of both worlds. David recalls in his childhood the most memorable times were sliding down St Helens sand dunes and night surfing trips in the summertime. David also recalls that later in his life, when he himself became a father for the first time, Dad was able to offer unspoken words of support and encouragement, which was a blessing. Dad often didn't need to verbally offer his support. We all knew that he had our backs. In 1993, and after another 6-year break, Mum and Dad welcomed the birth of their third daughter, Madeline Clare. This chubby, bubbly girl was a perfect addition to our growing family. A couple of years later, Josie Tarrant was born. And at this point, Jane and Sandra had grown up and moved out, and the family were living in Connery's Marsh in Tasmania. And 3 months later, after Josie's birth, Dad's first grandchild, Chad, was born to Jane and her partner, Corey, the first grandchild of many who would follow, and many of them here today. Around this time, Maurice and Linda both experienced health challenges that led to a strain in their marriage. And unfortunately, at this time in their life, the trials were too great and the strain was too challenging to bear, and Maurice and Linda found the need to separate for a time. However, Mum and Dad remained close and would talk often, with Dad freely offering advice, support and assistance to Linda whenever it was needed, and vice versa. It meant the world to us that we never heard our parents speak harshly about one another, and I recall Dad frequently reminding me that despite being separated, that Mum was his eternal companion, and nothing had changed that. Following the separation, the family eventually moved closer to Hobart, and Dad eventually rented a property in Montague Bay, which was directly beside the Tasman Bridge. I was in my teens and lived with Dad full time, with Madeline and Josie spending much of the week at Dad's house. Maddie recalls during her childhood, Dad would often drag her out on bike rides. She remembers occasions on a Sunday afternoon when he would encourage the girls to come for a ride, and they often didn't want to go. So he would tie a rope to tether their bikes and would drag them along. She recalls being pulled up and down the Tasman Bridge on reluctant bike rides every Sunday afternoon. And Maddie's payback was on one occasion accidentally turning her bike into his path on a ride, sending Dad over the handlebars, leading to a concussion, 2 damaged skateboard wrist bones, and an even more damaged ego. Unfortunately, it was the first of many bike riding injuries. Josie shared with us that one of her funniest memories with Dad was his propensity for teaching us karate moves. Dad had a few moves that he'd picked up in his life in various martial arts settings, and enjoyed telling the girls that he knew a move that would cause his opponent to lose their bowels. Josie and Maddie felt this move would be a useful tool in their sibling rivalry. However, Dad never spilled the beans on how to do this one. After complex issues he faced at work within the medical system, Dad experienced a car accident that resulted with him having some PTSD, and which led to him also making the choice to leave his clinical practice for a time. Following me leaving on my mission in 2006, Dad made a decision to move to Queensland to live with Jane and her family, who had moved up a couple of years prior to the Crystal Waters Permaculture Village. Dad found much needed solace and healing here, and enjoyed taking opportunities to learn the value of community and togetherness with his neighbours. It was also at this time that Dad's passion for music and world culture were reignited. Dad began volunteering at the Woodford Folk Festival and the Dreaming Festival, and Dad treasured these opportunities and the deep life connections he made with people he met along the way. Madeline and Josie moved up just a few short months after he arrived. After a number of happy years here on the Sunshine Coast, and after Madeline and I had moved out, Dad and Josie moved into a shared house in Mount Coolum with one of Sandra's oldest friends, and our adopted sibling, and her daughter Nikita. Annie had always felt like a member of our family, and it was during this time that Dad was able to help her as she studied her nursing degree. The skills of this qualification, which ironically she used to help nurse Dad in his last class. Nikita was also able to spend time with Dad and to learn from his lifetime of knowledge and experience. Dad and Josie were able to forge a special bond at this time, as Josie was the last of his children to move out. Dad and Josie enjoyed life together, and Dad was able to provide advice and support for Josie during her formative teenage years. Dad was a committed and caring grandfather, and despite the pain issues that he had in his hip for most of his life, Dad never missed an opportunity to play with grandkids. Dad found great joy in his grandchildren, often pushing himself too far in play and even coming to pain relief. Dad shared his sense of humour, his playful pranks with his children, his grandchildren. They will all remember his fingers up their noses, dizzy wizzies, being thrown up in the air way too high, and water fights. His love for his grandchildren shone in their faces and in his, and it was one of his greatest joys. Not only was he an amazing grandfather, but he was an outstanding exemplar of what it meant to be a father. He was a man that was looked upon with the highest respect by his sons-in-law, Corey, Brent and Dylan, who knew that if they needed a shoulder to lean on or an understanding ear, Dad was the one they could turn to. And just as with his own children, Dad loved each of them unconditionally. Around about this time in 2012, when Dad came home from a specialist appointment, Dad had come home from a specialist appointment and had shared with us that he had been diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. I knew this appointment was coming up, and I happened to be at his house when he got home that day. And he was able to say to me in a private moment that the prognosis was bleak, and that his cancer was very aggressive and had already advanced too far for them to consider any type of prostate removal. Dad immediately put his skills as a researcher to good use, and over the next few months became as proficient as any non-medical person could be in the field of oncology. From that time, Dad was the main driving force behind his own treatment, and he was as well versed as anyone in the latest research, including how prostate cancer was being treated in other countries and health systems. Dad largely formulated his own treatment plan with a fine balance between lifestyle changes, natural supplements and medications. This gave Dad about an additional 6 years that his doctors weren't expecting that he would have. During this period, Kellyanne and I invited Dad to come and live with us. Dad was concerned about the effect that his presence in our home might have on us, particularly considering how things might advance with his health. This was just Dad's personality. He never wanted to be a burden on anyone. We've enjoyed living with Dad for the final years of his life, and I was daily stunned at his achievements during this time. He took his passion for cycling to the next level and had become such a keen cyclist that he would ride up to 100 kilometres a day for fun. Dad was eternally patient with our children, and I was blessed to see his influence being shared upon my children on a daily basis. One of my fondest memories is watching Dad sitting at his desk, sharing a set of headphones with Bennett, listening to his favourite music while teaching Bennett how to chorister the music, which Bennett does now at church every time we sing hymn. We enjoyed watching them both singing along and enjoying time together, and that's been one of my greatest joys in the last few years. Kellyanne also had the opportunity to see him on a daily basis, and they quickly formed a strong bond. Kellyanne always remarked that she felt like he was one of the greatest men she had ever known, and felt honoured to call him Dad. Seeing him every day was a privilege, and I feel blessed to have been able to learn from his wisdom and experience in all aspects of my life, including fatherhood, work and church service. Dad always had good advice to share, and I was always a willing student. In the last 6 months, life got much more challenging for Dad. His health started a rapid decline from late 2018, and Dad became much more challenged with coping with his day-to-day needs. Jane and I had the opportunity to provide more service to him at this time, with Jane travelling over 40 minutes to get to our house and take him to appointments multiple times a week when I was at work. Josie and Maddie also sacrificed their time and personal needs to sleep with Dad when he was needing support during the night time. I had the opportunity to sit with him as his enduring power of attorney to discuss his plan so that we could be prepared for his end-of-life care. I can tell you that Dad wasn't fearful of death. He had confidence in his standing before the Lord, and he knew the plan of salvation. Dad was, however, fearful of becoming a burden on us, and would often utilise this Gourley stubbornness to prevent us from helping him. During these last months, both Mum and my wife Kellyanne had the opportunity to serve him with his day-to-day needs, including meals, running errands and his self-care. Mum, who had recently completed the carers course, soon after turned her skills towards Dad and visited him almost daily to make sure that his needs were met. This sacred and special time was a joy to both of them, and in the twilight of Dad's life, Mum and Dad were able to reconcile and reunite in their love for one another. Days before his passing, Dad declared to us, his children, that Mum was his eternal companion, and that he expected us to look after her when he was gone, until the time would come when he would be able again to be with her as her husband in the eternities. In the week before his passing, his legacy was easily observed as scores of people visited, including us children, children-in-law, his grandchildren, friends, and more. Dad made us laugh right up until the very end. At one point, he seemed to be in so much discomfort, and he had asked to be put into an induced sleep. Dad was also unable to speak and was spending much of his time unconscious at this point. We were able to talk, cry, share, listen to music, and I was able to offer him a priesthood blessing at this time. Then, unexpectedly, he sat up, he opened his eyes, and he said, "Why are you all crying? Am I dead yet?" He then asked Annie to check his pulse and to pinch him to prove that he was alive. The room exploded with laughter, and Dad had enjoyed his last prank. Dad entered into an induced sleep on Monday the 14th of January. The doctors remarked about the strength of his heart. That came up a lot. And they said that his determination and his will to endure the challenges were a testament to his character. The following day, on the 15th of January, Dad drew his last breath surrounded by his family. And in closing, I just want to share with you a few things about Dad's belief about what happened from that point. We know in the Book of Mormon, the Book of 2 Nephi, it says, "O then, my beloved brethren, come unto the Lord, the Holy One. Remember that his paths are righteous. Behold, the way for man is narrow, but it lieth in a straight course before him. And the keeper of the gate is the Holy One of Israel. And he employeth no servant there. And there is none other way save it be by the gate. For the Lord God is his name. And whoso knocketh, to him will he open." Brothers and sisters, at the end of Dad's life, I found myself in the unique position of not only being his son, but also being his bishop. I know, brothers and sisters, that my dad was prepared for this passing into the next life. I know that there is no tragedy in death, only in not being prepared for it. Brothers and sisters, family and friends, I can tell you that Dad was prepared. And at the moment that he left this life, he was able to meet his Saviour and fall at his feet. I have felt the comforting influence of the Holy Ghost since that time, and I felt those keen emotions that we feel when these events happen be eased, and I've certainly felt comforted by the influence of the Holy Spirit. Dad's last testimony to you all, he wanted you to know that that it's through the power of the atonement of our Saviour Jesus Christ that we find deliverance in our lives, and the only way to find true happiness and comfort. And I'll share this with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Brothers and sisters, we will be pleased to hear. We just want to thank those who have spoken again. At this point, I would also like to share a few thank yous. So first of all, on behalf of our family, I'd like to extend our deepest thanks to the doctors and nurses at the Dove Palliative Care Unit in Caloundra for treating Dad with such dignity over the last few weeks. We'd also like to acknowledge the staff and doctors at the Adam Crosby Centre, the Cancer Centre at the Sunshine Coast University Hospital, for their support. A special thanks to the Chittamani Hospice Service for helping us with Dad's home-based care in the last few months. Particularly want to send a special thank you to Laksam, who's their spiritual counsellor, who Dad formed a strong friendship with in the weeks prior to his passing. We'd also like to send a special thank you to Tony Bauer, who supported Dad with supplements free of charge over the past 6 years. And for those of you who know Tony and the work that he does, he helps many people with chronic health conditions around Australia with natural source supplements. So I just want to send a special thanks to him. We would like to acknowledge our adopted sibling Annie for her support, particularly during Dad's hospitalisations. And her advice and counsel has been so influential in helping us to understand treatment directions that we needed. We know that Dad loved Annie as a daughter and trusted her advice without question. We'd also like to thank Brother Perry Dixon and Brother Connor Waters, Dad's ministering brothers, for ensuring that he had the sacrament every single week when he was housebound. They never hesitated. Thanks to Brother Wade Dixon, who's here today, Dad's Elders Quorum President, who helped me dress him and prepare his body. We'd like to thank those who have helped us in this funeral service, for Russell and Craig, from Gregson and Wade for supporting us and caring for Dad following his passing, for our dear friends, Vanessa Porters, Charity DeGarris and Chelsea Miller, and the other ladies from the Budge and Waterloo Society, for providing the decorations and refreshments that we'll enjoy following this service. To Paolo and Juanita Labasa for helping prepare the chapel this morning, and for Rob Labasa for playing the piano for us today. We'd like to thank Sue Ann Barnes, my mother-in-law, and Dawn Pitt for the beautiful flowers, and also Sue Ann for conducting music for us. And then also to my buddy Drew for recording this presentation for those of Dad's friends and relatives who couldn't be here today. We'll now be pleased to view a video montage and photo presentation of Dad's life.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I am sailing home again, across the sea. I am sailing stormy waters to be near you, to be free. I am flying, I am flying like a bird across the sky. I am flying, passing high clouds to be near you, to be
There are times when you might feel aimless. You can't see the places where you belong.
But you will find that there is a purpose. It's been there within you all along.
And when you're near it, you can almost hear it.
It's like a symphony. Just keep listening, and pretty soon you'll start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece, and there are melodies. Each one of us. Oh, it's glorious. You will know how to let it ring out as you discover who you are. Others around you start to wake up to the sounds that are in their hearts.
It's so amazing what we're all creating.
It's like a symphony. Just keep listening, and pretty soon you'll start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece, and there are melodies. Each one of us. Oh, it's glorious. Glorious, glorious, glorious.
That you feel the notes build higher. You will see.
It's like a symphony. Just keep listening, and pretty soon you'll start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece, and there are melodies. Each one of us. Oh, it's glorious.
I know.
Travel right into the lake
Making a video.
We've got to dance, please.
Always look on the bright side of life.
Always look on the bright
Oh,
side. Oh, Nana! Oh my God! Okay, let's jitterbug.
Life is full of love, isn't it? Excellence, laugh and dance and sing and play. When you're in some trouble, don't let it burst your bubble. You'll get through and through it anyway.
Okay.
Brothers and sisters, that concludes our service for today. And once again, I want to thank you all for being here, especially those of you who have travelled a very long way. David, we've been very honoured to have you share this with us. Just so you all know, you're welcome to stay. We have a number of refreshments in the hall that are prepared for you, so please don't go without coming and sharing some time with us. And we would love to hear Dad's influence on you and to have that opportunity to spend a bit of time with you if you're able to stay. Our closing hymn will be hymn number 124, again in the Green Book, Be Still My Soul. And our closing prayer will be by Brother Perry Dixon. Brothers and sisters, family and friends, I invite you to stand after the closing prayer. We'll play a song, a country song for Dad. We'll invite the grandkids forward. We will then usher Dad out with his
Be still my soul,
my side. With patience bear thy cross of grief.